Did you know many of your famous old Hollywood actors were actually gay? Some of them got public, but some of them died even with their hidden identity. Today, we are going to reveal the secrets of the old Hollywood actors who were actually gay. Rock Hudson. When Rock Hudson strode through a doorway, every cinema seat squeaked. 6'4", dimpled chin, voice like polished mahogany, he was Universal's dream poster. But off-set, Roy Fitzgerald, his birth name, lived behind a door with two locks. Studio fixer Henry Wilson drilled him in masculine posture, arranged lovers to be secretaries, and in 1955 staged a whirlwind wedding to Phyllis Gates the moment Confidential magazine threatened exposure. Friends remember Hudson's Malibu parties, where the guest list flipped after midnight. Out went gossip column photographers, in came handsome surfers, and Rock finally ditched the marble statue persona to giggle in cut-off jeans. Elizabeth Taylor once said he flirted better than any leading lady.
Rock made me laugh. I loved him.
And their pillow talk friendship let him confide anxieties few men dared voice in Eisenhower's America. His AIDS diagnosis in 1984 shattered Hollywood's polite illusions. Suddenly, the world realized its most virile matinee idol was gay, and sympathy eclipsed scandal. Today, every biography repeats a private mantra Rock scribbled in the margin of a script. I won't apologize for living the life that lets me breathe. For an actor famous for He-Man roles, the real drama was simply daring to exhale. Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter looked like the cover of a 1950s high school yearbook. Varsity blonde hair, shy grin, cheeks dusted with perpetual summer. Warner Brothers milked that innocence, then panicked when police caught him at a Hollywood party rife with male dancers. Agents hustled him out the back fence, paparazzi snapped the hem of his Letterman jacket, and gossip hawks licked their chops. Studio boss Jack Warner responded with a master plan. Unleash a PR romance with Natalie Wood. Tab dutifully escorted Natalie to the Coconut Grove, smiling so wide his jaw cramped. She later joked she deserved overtime pay. Off-screen, Hunter was falling hard for another rising star, Psycho's Anthony Perkins. They roller-skated at midnight around Paramount's backlot, trading scripts and secret love letters, but had to climb out separate cab doors to dodge columnists. Decades later, Hunter's memoir, Tab Hunter Confidential, revealed the roller skates, the panic attacks, and a delicious side note. He kept a pet horse named Harlow that never cared who I kissed. When the book hit shelves in 2005, critics called it the sunniest coming-out story Tinseltown ever told. Tab had waited half a century to wave, then rode off, finally, into the open air. Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins is forever frozen as Norman Bates. Thin frame, awkward smile, mother issues, yet the scariest part of his life was Universal's publicists. Shy and intellectual, Perkins spent off hours in New York coffee shops, practicing French verbs and sketching costume ideas. Broadway director Joshua Logan introduced him to Tab Hunter at a beach party, and the clicking began. The pair traded monologues for horseback rides, but the romance could not outlast the rumor mill. Perkins's own agent warned that even a whisper would reduce you to summer stock salaries. So Tony perfected the art of the hetero photo op, staged lunches with co-star Audrey Hepburn, hand-holding premieres with actress Victoria Principal, all while meeting men in discreet Central Park walks. Ironically, Alfred Hitchcock encouraged his diffidence, telling reporters, "Perkins never brings girls to set. He stays in character." Years later, Tony married photographer Barry Berenson, a union of gentle souls that gave him two sons and space to breathe. But his private journals, leaked posthumously, confessed he still dreamed of Tab's surfer laugh. When Perkins died of AIDS in 1992, Hollywood sorrowfully admitted the boy next door had lived in a house of locked doors, much like the Bates Motel. Ramon Novarro picture, 1920s. Theater lobbies. Velvet curtains, jazz trills, and posters of Ramon Novarro's soulful eyes promising exotic passion. MGM marketed him as the Latin lover who could seduce without touching. Off-camera, Mexicano-born Novarro preferred quiet dinners with composer Lionel Barrymore and intimate soirees where Cole Porter played piano. Studio chief Louis B. Mayer, terrified a same-sex scandal might dethrone Rudolph Valentino's box office heir, assigned bodyguards less as protection and more as surveillance. Novarro dodged arranged dates by pleading devotion to Catholic prayer. He once told a pushy columnist, "My only mistress is the rosary." Friend Tula Bankhead teased, "Rosaries don't stroll hand in hand along Santa Monica Pier at midnight, darling." In 1968, Novarro's life ended tragically when two hustler brothers, lured by rumors he kept cash in a silver goblet, beat him to death. Tabloids shrieked, Hollywood wept. Yet decades later, historians note Novarro's diaries overflow with gratitude. "If fame was camouflage, it still let me kiss beautiful men beneath the moon." His on-screen chariot races roared, but it's the whispered moonlit kisses that echo loudest in silent film lore. William Haynes. William Billy. Haynes was the wisecracking king of 1920s romantic comedies. Think Ryan Reynolds with Wilder Socks. He also delivered Hollywood's first open defiance of the closet. Billy's true love, ex-sailor Jimmy Shields, lived with him in a Mediterranean bungalow nicknamed the Gay White House. After confidential threatened exposure, MGM's Louis B. Mayer demanded a lavender marriage. Billy smirked, tapped ash off his cigarette, and said, "I'm already married," to the man waiting at home. Studio doors slammed. Haynes shrugged and reinvented himself as an interior designer. He and Jimmy transformed Joan Crawford's mansion into an Art Deco jewel, remodeled Ronald Reagan's Pacific Palisades retreat, and invented the California casual look. Crawford, their lifelong pal, called them the happiest married couple in Hollywood. When anti-gay thugs attacked their home in 1936, the pair fought back with garden hoses and dry wit. Gossip columnist Luella Parsons quipped the attackers left wetter than Billy's martinis. Haynes never made another movie, but at his 1973 funeral, Joan Crawford clutched Jimmy's hand and whispered, "You two beat the system." In an era of secrets, Billy Haynes chased away the shadows with a paintbrush and a punchline. Montgomery Clift. Monty Clift arrived in Hollywood like a blast of Manhattan theater grit. Brooding eyes, method-acting intensity, cheekbones able to slice chiffon. Directors adored him. Studios, less so. Clift politely refused fan club luncheons, ducked reporter questions about girlfriends, and spent weekends hosting jazz jam sessions with playwright Arthur Lawrence and a string of handsome photographers. His best friend Elizabeth Taylor became an unofficial beard, calling him Bessie May when they shared gossip and cigarettes at 3 a.m. During From Here to Eternity, studio handlers tried to shepherd Monty into the arms of every available starlet. He sidestepped with textbook Southern charm. The 1956 car crash that shattered his face also shattered his fragile concealment. Painkillers and guilt made headlines, while friends whispered the harder truth. Monty felt his secret life had crippled him long before the steering wheel. Yet on screen, he poured that ache into immortal performances. After his death in 1966, a magazine finally printed an essay he'd once drafted but never published. The saddest thing I know is loving quietly. The happiest, too. It reads like a blueprint of the method actor's soul, equal parts longing and luminous art. Salmano burst into rebel without a cause as the puppy-eyed Plato, effusing heartbreak that felt disturbingly real, because it was. Off-screen, Sal nursed a crush on James Dean that spilled into his diary. He looks at me and I forget my lines. Warner Publicity insisted on double dates with Natalie Wood. Sal dutifully posed, though he later joked, "Nate and I spent every drive talking about how handsome Jimmy was." The 1960s weren't kind to a boyish idol who never grew into macho roles, so Mineo pivoted to theater, embracing edgier parts in Fortune and Men's Eyes, where he played, openly, a gay inmate. Critics hailed his bravery. Hollywood shrugged. Despite minor comebacks, he struggled to finance indie passion projects, some drawn from gay literature. On a February night in 1976, returning from rehearsal, Sal was stabbed outside his West Hollywood apartment. Police first suspected a hate crime. Later, they arrested a mugger with no knowledge of Mineo's fame. The tragedy cemented his status as Hollywood's eternal lost boy. But fans today celebrate the bravery of a young actor who turned rumor into art long before it was fashionable. Carrie Grant. Carrie Grant possessed the grin of a Cheshire cat who'd read everyone's secrets and written half of them. Born Archie Leach, he shared a Santa Monica beach house with fellow actor Randolph Scott through most of the 1930s. Gossip columns dubbed it Bachelor Hall, printing photos of them in matching aprons grilling steaks. Studio chiefs winced. Hedda Hopper prodded Grant about wedding plans. He fired back, "Who says I'm not married to Randolph?" Hedda printed the quip, then sanitized it by adding, "in the business sense." To dilute suspicion, Paramount arranged romances. Carole Lombard, then Barbara Hutton, whom he eventually wed. Yet even after 5 marriages, Carrie clung to Randolph's lifelong friendship. Ex-wives joked their biggest rival was not another woman, but a lanky cowboy in the guest room. Grant later quipped, "Everyone wants to be Carrie Grant. Even I want to be Carrie Grant," a sly nod to the persona mask he'd perfected. He died in 1986, never labeling himself, but letters to Scott revealed inside jokes about our cottage hideout and a shared cocktail recipe titled Two Bachelors in Love. Hollywood still debates, but the letters toast a bond deeper than any script. James Dean hurtled across screens and highways like a meteor. Dazzling, dangerous, gone too soon. His sexuality remains Hollywood's loudest open question. Before fame, he reportedly tagged along with radio director Rogers Brackett, exchanging friendship and perhaps affection for mentorship. Gossip writer Joe Hyams swore Dean confessed bisexuality during a drunken New York evening, punctuated by the line, "Why should I care what people think? I'm not going to live forever." On the Warner lot, Dean spent off hours racing motorcycles with stuntman Bill Hickman and sneaking into a repertory theater where male dancers practiced barefoot. Dean sometimes joined, citing research. Whether rumor, reality, or PR, he dated actress Pier Angeli. Studio reps pushed the narrative of an epic romance, culminating in tabloids photographing him brooding outside her wedding to another man. Friends recall Dean quipping, "Maybe Pier loved Jimmy the Myth, not Jimmy the Mess." Tragically, his Porsche crash at 24 froze myths in place. Left behind, a safety deposit box containing poems signed with male initials and a photo of Dean kissing an unknown man backstage. Could be a friend, could be more. What remains is the mystique of a rebel who refused every label, but alive, fast, now. George Nader. George Nader belonged to the galaxy of 1950s. Beefcake, square jaw, bright smile, and a startlingly gentle manner. Universal positioned him as the next Rock Hudson, but both men shared a mentor, Agent Henry Wilson, who specialized in handsome, closeted talent. When Confidential threatened to expose Rock, Wilson reportedly sacrificed Nader, handing over an unfounded rumor about George to spare Hudson. Studios quietly iced Nader, relegating him to B pictures, and, later, German sci-fi television, where tabloids paid less attention. Through it all, Nader lived openly with lifelong partner Mark Miller and their Doberman Arno, hosting Sunday brunches famous for bottomless sangria and whispered jokes about Hollywood blacklists. In 1978, George wrote Chrome, a pulpy, futuristic novel starring two male lovers, arguably the first sci-fi bestseller with an overt gay romance. Asked if he feared backlash, Nader grinned. "I've already lost one career to rumors. Why not gain a new one with truth?" Fans of cult cinema now celebrate him as a pioneer, proof you can leap from studio reject pile to queer literary trailblazer with nothing but courage, typewriter ribbons, and enough sangria. Tyrone Power. Tyrone Power swashbuckled through the 1930s in The Mark of Zorro, fencing villains and fluttering eyelashes. Publicists billed him Hollywood's handsomest man, conveniently forgetting his friendships with Broadway's handsomest men. Power's wartime service in the Marines introduced him to male companions who shared foxholes and private jokes. Letters home hinted at dearest bonds, full of coded longing. After the war, rumors linked him to actor Cesar Romero. Columnists noted Power and Romero vacationed together in Havana with "no ladies in sight, must be fishing." 20th Century Fox panicked, engineering marriages, first to French actress Annabella, later to Deborah Menardos. Yet even Annabella admitted Ty's favorite pastime was late-night chats with male friends over cognac. Tragically, Power died on set in 1958, collapsing from a heart attack while sword-fighting George Sanders. Among his effects, a leather diary noting birthdays of close male pals and a pressed gardenia from Romero's hillside home. Whether lovers, comrades, or something between, Tyrone Power's charisma on film masked a heart that, by all accounts, loved with the same swashbuckling intensity he showed on screen. Van Johnson. Van Johnson's freckles and choir-boy grin crowned him MGM's wartime poster boy. He sold war bonds by the truckload and inspired sweethearts to pen fan letters scented with rose cologne. Yet Johnson's off-screen adventures were more clandestine. A 1943 car crash left him scarred. While recuperating, gossip buzzed that he spent convalescence not with a doting nurse, but with dancer Keenan Wynn, whose wife, actress Eve Abbott, later married off to Van in what Hollywood notes as a classic lavender marriage. Abbott confessed years later the union was orchestrated by studio boss Louis B. Mayer to quash rumors. Van dutifully played the doting husband in fan magazines, but insiders recall his dressing room poker nights populated almost entirely by handsome chorus boys. After the divorce, Johnson relocated to Palm Springs, sharing a house with decorator Charles Boswell, casually referring to him as "my roommate of record and cook extraordinaire." Though Van never publicly came out, he did quip on a late 1970s talk show, "Freckles hide a multitude of secrets." Fans laughed, unaware they were witnessing perhaps the subtlest public wink of MGM's golden boy. Richard Chamberlain. Before Netflix's Bridgerton hearts fluttered, Dr. Kildare made stethoscopes sexy, thanks to Richard Chamberlain. From 1961 TV stardom to sweeping epics like The Thornbirds, Chamberlain's chiseled features and articulate calm captivated audiences. Meanwhile, tabloids noticed he escorted a carousel of ingenues, yet was never photographed in morning-after mode. In Hawaii, he found sanctuary, purchasing a secluded estate dubbed Paradise Found, where he lived with actor-producer Martin Rabbit. The two starred as lovers in 1986's Alan Quatermain, a rare case of a closeted star acting opposite his real partner. When The Advocate outed Chamberlain in 1989, he panicked, issuing denials until finally, in his 2003 memoir, Shattered Love, he wrote, "The closet is a suffocating coffin. I needed sunlight." Fans applauded. Interviewers asked why he'd waited so long. Richard answered with trademark elegance, "Because acting is pretending. And I thought I had to pretend off stage, too. Turns out the best role I ever played was myself, once I let myself be cast." Today he gardens, paints watercolors, and occasionally reprises roles, proving even silver fox doctors deserve happy endings. Farley Granger. Farley Granger sashayed into Hitchcock's Rope with mischievous charm and rumors already swirling. Hit with overnight fame at 21, he landed in a lavender whirlwind. Starlets queued for premiere photos, while playwright Arthur Lawrence seduced him with sparkling repartee. Granger's autobiography later confessed he never worried about labels, only whether the kiss felt honest. He juggled flings with singer Shelley Winters and composer Leonard Bernstein, often on the same weekend, earning the affectionate nickname Broadway's busiest commuter. Hitchcock once teased Granger for blushing whenever co-star John Dal gave him that lingering look across the chessboard. Studios tried to cultivate a macho persona, but Granger ditched Hollywood for Broadway, where open-minded audiences shrugged at his bohemian swirl. In 1953, he and Robert Calhoun met during CBS soap auditions. The two partners stayed together for nearly 50 years. When a reporter questioned his bisexual past, Farley chuckled, "Past? Darling, I'm still alive." His breezy honesty reads like a prototype for modern fluid celebrities, decades ahead of hashtags and rainbow flags. Clifton Webb owned the art of urbane snark long before Instagram sarcasm. Whether skewering dinner guests in Laura or fussing over co-stars in Cheaper by the Dozen, Webb radiated refined bachelorhood. He lived with his mother, the formidable Maybelle, a fact columnists gleefully reported, dubbing him Hollywood's Prince Hamlet. His sexuality was an open secret. Noel Coward penned racy letters begging Webb to join him in the south of France. Clifton demurred, citing rehearsal schedules. Legend says when an MGM publicist suggested a fake romance, Webb arched an eyebrow and replied, "My dear, the only suitable match for me is society itself." He sipped martinis at the Beverly Hills Hotel with Cole Porter, exchanging withering quips that frightened novice reporters. Yet offstage he adored gardening and doted on nieces, sending them letters illustrated with cats wearing top hats. When he died in 1966, Maybelle followed within a year, and gossip columns finally sighed. Hollywood's most elegant secret goes with him. One imagines Webb offering a ghostly retort, "Darling, secrets, like martinis, are best shaken, not spilled." Raymond Burr. Long before Perry Mason thundered, "Objection!" Raymond Burr spun wild public backstories, a brief marriage, a deceased son, and even a widowhood, none of which existed. Reporters scratching the surface found no marriage license, no birth certificate, just meticulous fables. The truth? Burr spent 35 years with former actor Robert Benavides, raising orchids and cultivating a 4,000-acre grape ranch in Sonoma. They produced award-winning wines under the label Raymond Burr Vineyards. Mason fans visiting for tastings sometimes gasped when Benavides introduced himself as Ray's other half. Burr's elaborate fake history emerged from fear. Early in his career, RKO fired him after rumors about a Navy romance. Undeterred, he rebuilt his resume story by story, literally, until it shielded him. Off-camera, co-stars knew the truth. Barbara Hale recalled that Burr hosted cast barbecues, cheerfully introducing Benavides without fuss. When the Los Angeles Times finally referenced the partnership in his 1993 obituary, many viewers murmured, "We knew." What they hadn't known was how deeply Burr loved orchids. One rare hybrid he bred carried a hidden name tag, Phalaenopsis roberta, quietly honoring the man at his side. Paul Lind Picture, a neon-lit game show set, tic-tac-toe grid, and at center square Paul Lind unleashing one-liners so sly, censors blushed. Audiences howled, never quite catching the lavender wink. Born in Ohio, Lind fought his way through stand-up clubs where hecklers tossed slurs. He turned every taunt into a punchline, learning the comedic judo that made him a star on Bewitched and Hollywood squares. Off-screen, he referred to gay bars as church socials and could polish 3 martinis before the first hymn. Friends recall his obsession with golden retrievers. He named them all Harry. Yet there was sadness. A 1965 incident when a lover fell or jumped from a San Francisco hotel balcony sparked police scrutiny and press whispers, sending Lind deeper into vodka solace. Even so, he continued slinging zingers like, Q. What does it mean when someone's seen a flying saucer? Paul. It means he's been to one cocktail party too many. Underneath, he ached for acceptance he could only joke about. When he died at 55, fellow comedian Peter Marshall mourned. Paul gave the world laughter and kept the tears backstage. Danny Kaye. Energetic, elastic-faced Danny Kaye tap-danced across 1940s musicals, sang gibberish tongue twisters, and, rumor insists, waltzed into hearts of both genders. Tales of an affair with Sir Laurence Olivier swirl, spawned by Noel Coward's diaries and Vivian Lee's playful jealousy. Kaye, married to songwriter Sylvia Fine, traveled the globe as UNICEF ambassador. Insiders note Olivier coincidentally joined several of those goodwill tours. Biographer Donald Spoto claimed Kaye kept a pied-à-terre in London, furnished exclusively by Larry's decorator. Danny brushed off prying questions with a grin. My private life is like my inchworm song, sweet, simple, and on repeat. Sylvia allegedly tolerated outside dalliances, believing creativity thrived on unconventional love. Kaye's favorite prank, crashing student orchestras, conducting them in perfect tempo, then vanishing before authorities arrived. Still, the Olivier whispers persisted. Kaye never denied them, simply saying, a rumor is just a story that hasn't found its punchline. Whether friend, lover, or musical muse, Danny Kaye pirouetted past labels with the same nimble grace he used to dodge imaginary foxes on stage. Laurence Olivier, Sir Laurence Olivier, classical titan, Shakespearean thunderbolt, holds a knighthood, 3 Oscars, and perhaps a secret crush from Danny Kaye. Letters lay once brandished in playful rage, allegedly began, Beloved Danny, and ended with Shakespearean puns too risque for the Globe. Yet Olivier balanced multiple masks, Britain's most revered tragedian, Hollywood's suave lead opposite Merle Oberon, and co-architect of the National Theatre. Behind backstage curtains, he embraced theatrical bohemia, attending London soirees hosted by gay poet John Betjeman, where brandy, not tea, flowed. During World War II, Olivier's military film unit jokingly called itself The Defense of the Realm and Other Boys Club. Post-war, tabloid whispers chased him, particularly after his amicable divorce from Vivian Leigh, herself frank about bisexual crushes. When asked, Olivier redirected attention to craft. True actors bare their souls on stage, so why should we strip anywhere else? Whether his Danny Kaye friendship crossed romantic borders or simply mutual artistic electricity, Olivier's flair, charisma, and intrigue made him perpetual headline gold. His autobiography tips a hat with this sly line, "All the world's a stage, and the stalls are always full of rumor." John Gilgood. Sir John Gilgood could recite Hamlet while tying a bow tie, but one 1953 indiscretion nearly toppled his throne. Caught importuning, soliciting, in a London public loo, Gilgood paid a fine and faced career ruin. Instead, opening night of A Day by the Sea greeted him with a standing ovation so thunderous he burst into tears mid-monologue. Theaterland collectively decided genius outranked scandal. Gilgood thereafter sprinkled wicked self-mockery into interviews. "I never go to the gents now. I might run into critics." He lived discreetly with stage manager Martin Hensler, traveling Europe between productions, cataloging antique furniture and writing letters dripping with gossip. Friends delighted in his Christmas cards featuring Shakespeare wearing Santa hats. The incident that once loomed as catastrophe gradually reshaped British attitudes. Playwright Alan Bennett later mused that Gilgood's humiliation put the stamp of silliness on the law. Knighted in 1953 and again applauded at 90, Gilgood epitomized resilience, proof that even the bard's brightest torchbearer could survive homophobic thunderbolts and return to center stage, crown untarnished. Rudolph Valentino. Rudolph Valentino's sultry gaze sold perfume, shoes, even disguises. Hobbyists bought Valentino wigs to emulate that oiled black mane. Woman fans fainted en masse, yet rumors swirled of backstage handkerchief codes and secret speakeasy dates with playwright Paul Ivano. His whirlwind first marriage to actress John Acker ended before the honeymoon suite unlocked, prompting tabloids to coin him the most popular divorcee in Hollywood. Tango clubs buzzed that Valentino preferred waltzing with male partners after hours, disguised beneath Panama hats. When he died suddenly in 1926, New York streets gridlocked. Amidst public hysteria, a floral tribute shaped like a broken chain bore an unsigned card reading, "To the one who taught me new steps in the dark." Scholars still debate its author, but every Valentino biography acknowledges a life lived larger than silent screens could capture. Whether lover of women, men, or simply of romance itself, Valentino left one undeniable legacy. He taught America that desire could simmer silently, and that sometimes silence screams loudest. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich strolled onto film sets wearing tuxedos, top hats, and an attitude sharp enough to slice studio red tape. In the 1930s Morocco, she kissed a woman on the lips, then tossed a carnation to a swooning Gary Cooper. Censors spasmed, audiences gasped. Dietrich smirked. Her off-screen romances spanned genders. Novelist Mercedes de Acosta shared Paris hotel suites, while French actor Jean Gabin inspired smoky love letters sealed with her signature scent, Bandit by Robert Piguet. Dietrich claimed fashion's ultimate superpower, making critics forget orientation, focusing instead on silhouette. When asked by a prudish reporter if rumors of affairs with women were true, she exhaled cigarette smoke like stage fog and purred, "In America, sex is an obsession. In other parts of the world, it is a fact." Throughout World War II, she entertained Allied troops, sometimes changing into men's jackets, mid-song to rile Nazi defectors. By war's end, Hitler had blacklisted her. Meanwhile, Paris dubbed her the most glamorous soldier. Dietrich lived her final years in a darkened Paris apartment, but the glow persists whenever a modern pop star dons a tuxedo, an echo of Marlene whispering, "Be yourself, be beautiful." Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo famously told the press, "I want to be alone," but diaries reveal she wanted to be left alone with women like socialite Lillian Tashman and playwright Mercedes de Acosta. MGM built her as an unattainable sphinx, forbidding interviews beyond yes-no answers. The less she spoke, the louder rumors shouted. At a 1933 costume ball, Garbo appeared wearing men's tails, dancing exclusively with Marlene Dietrich. Tabloids tried to photograph it. Studio enforcers blocked lenses with ostrich feather fans. Correspondence between Garbo and de Acosta brims with pet names, Greta Lion and Tiny, sealed with pressed violets. Post-retirement, Garbo paced Manhattan streets in trench coat and beret, slipping into art house cinemas and rare bookshops. A college student once recognized her and stuttered, "You're Greta Garbo." She leaned in and whispered, "Shh, darling, let's not start a scene," then vanished into a subway. Garbo never publicly came out, yet her androgynous magnetism laid the blueprint for modern enigmatic icons from David Bowie to Tilda Swinton. In staying silent, Garbo spoke volumes. Mystery can be its own microphone. Tula Bankhead. Tula Bankhead didn't walk into rooms. She cyclone-whirled in trailing chiffon, a martini in one hand, script in the other, husky laugh ricocheting off chandeliers. She bragged about seducing husbands and wives, stating, "My father warned me about men and women. He never said anything about fences." At Algonquin Round Table luncheons, she'd claim Joan Crawford stole her favorite mink. Crawford retorted Tallulah stole her favorite lady's maid. Bankhead's parties featured bathtub gin and a parrot trained to squawk, "Daddy is drunk." She once performed Antony and Cleopatra draped in gold lame, so sheer reviewers speculated whether she was wearing anything under Egypt's sun. Lovers reportedly included Billie Holiday, Hattie McDaniel, and United Artists co-founder Mary Pickford's secretary, who Tallulah dubbed Pick-a-Flower. When she hosted radio's The Big Show, sponsors begged her to watch language. She opened the premiere by mispronouncing Ethel Merman as an R-rated pun, then cackled for 60 seconds on live air. During a 1950s hospital stay, she scandalized nurses by quipping, "Don't breathe on me, darling. I'm dying." She survived another decade. Tallulah taught Hollywood the closet could never contain a hurricane. Paty Kelly, Brooklyn-born dynamo of Hal Roach comedies, paired rat-a-tat wisecracks with tap dance kicks sharp enough to pop stage lights. Unlike peers, she refused lavender charades. In 1932, she told a New York Daily News reporter she lived with actress Wilma Cox because husbands snore. Papers buried the remark. Patsy doubled down on vaudeville stages, peppering routines with double entendres about falling for the same dame twice. Her candor cost her A-list parts, but she thrived in B-pictures and Broadway reviews, winning a Tony in 1971 for No No Nanette, 50 years after Hollywood first labeled her box office poison. She proudly escorted female partners down 42nd Street sidewalks, tipping imaginary fedoras at catcalling sailors. When a gossip columnist once insinuated she kept secrets, Patsy fired back, "Honey, my only secret is my gravy recipe, and you ain't worth the roux." Late career found her stealing scenes in Disney's Freaky Friday, charming new generations with that irreverent wink. Kelly's epitaph could have been her favorite rehearsal note. If you can't tell the truth, at least tell a joke loud enough to drown out the lie. Hollywood's golden era perfected illusion, yet behind those shimmering backdrops lived performers whose authenticity glowed brighter than any Klieg light. They dodged gossip, outwitted studio bosses, and found pockets of freedom in hidden nightclubs, beach cottages, and rap party backrooms. Their clandestine romances weren't merely scandal. They were acts of resistance that rewrote what it means to sparkle on and off the silver screen. Next time you watch a silky black-and-white close-up, remember, the real drama might have happened after the director yelled, "Cut!"